Adam absorbed pressure, Crownie and Nuke carried team fights. That's what they were so good at. But the problem is, as we get further and further into the tournament, the amount of teams who will let you get away with that is lower and lower and lower. And so I think for EMEA fans, for BDS fans, LEC fans, they want to see more than sit back and scale or pray to God that Adam does Adam things.
And, you know, you can maybe have that prayer answered in Swiss stage, because I think you can, if you're playing well, get away with it against what looks like their path forward to Swiss stage from here. The fact that you are going up against CFO, and then if you win this, you're going up against, I almost said GAM, not GAM. PSG Talons.
Yep.
Both those teams from the PCS region tend to play a little bit slower, and if you're willing to just take scaling opportunities, you might be able to match them in that. So I don't think that BDS needs to try and reinvent the wheel here and really go too far outside their comfort zone. I think it's just about playing a little bit better within it.
Certainly. Well, already we have a great tool for vision control, team fighting. Maokai overall feels like a jack of all trades in terms of team contributions. Individually, obviously can be a pretty underwhelming champion, but just does so much in the game for the team. So Maokai will be the first pick in there, and no surprise, the Analyst Desk talked about it. Zaya early prio will be there too. Sheo. Lee Sin hover over here.
Surely not.
Just sitting there a little wide-eyed. Oh, there it is. That's a classic.
That's what I thought.
Very different flavor from our previous series, but makes sense. I think both these junglers often utility for their respective teams, and in the anticipation of a game going late, you want that beefy front line. But here's the Jace coming through. Obviously, Jace mid lane with the carry. In this case, we can expect a Kai'Sa, I imagine. Was incredibly powerful on the vast majority of playoffs patch. It was the strongest composition by far. Jace worked strong in the mid lane with the Kai'Sa in the LEC season finals, so not surprising to see it potentially priored here. I would be surprised not to see a Kai'Sa.
Yeah, we'll see if they want to go for it. The poke AP variant of this that made it giga busted is not quite as powerful and largely gone. But the Maokai and Jace alone are able to combo together extremely well. The fact that you can land a sapling, which sets up a accelerated blast, is very powerful. And you can chunk people out extremely easy if they're squishy at all, and that's one of the combinations. When you factor in a Kai'Sa poke as well, that's when it gets absolutely busted. And we'll see if Shun ends up trying to build the more AP build or just stick with lethality or something else instead.
Yep.
But still, just the makings of a very strong, stable comp already from CFO, and using a lot of their most played champions. Most played for Gemini in Summer, and Jimmy's second most played in Jace, assuming that is going there, not up to rest.
And here we are. The Nuke going to respond with the Azir. You know, control mages personally are what I like to see him on. Obviously, he has a couple of different signature picks. He likes the Cassio, he likes the Syndra, but I really enjoy his control mage play. Orianna has been taken away, so Azir is the next in line. Is a very powerful champion. And this is one of my favorite champions in pro play as a control mage because it can make plays on one or two items. At a certain point, you should stop Shurima shuffling in. A lot of people miss that, but you should stop.
Nah. I appreciate the ones who've never seen a shuffle they didn't like. There's not an angle that they won't take. That is generally speaking not the Nuke one. He's not quite the most proactive Azir. And, you know, I think with the makings of their comp so far, they will need to be slightly aggressive if they're getting poked out. They do need to find their times to go in, because otherwise CFO might continue to opt into the range advantage that they currently have.
The question now is, Rakan already banned away, so what's the support prio here for both sides? Nautilus would be the easy assumption to go alongside the Kai'Sa. Rel is also up and available.
I think it's also very questionable about whether you want to take it blind or not, because if CFO somehow end up with two more shorter, beefier carries coming in from the top and support position, maybe a Braum can look good, which is Lebrov's one of his favorite champions, it seems like, with how much he plays it, and you could save your counter pick then for support. But then that doesn't always feel great to go support 5th, and then if you don't get that angle and you just lock in what you were expected to lock in anyways, it doesn't quite feel as good, and then you're taking last pick away from Adam, who can have game-winning performances, so ideally I would like to see that taken away into something a little bit more normal here.
They've banned the R in Gods. Gourds. Less popular, but
less popular.
Not the champion that doesn't fit into the letter puzzle.
The street merchants are having a great time with gourds.
Okay, so what is the option going to be? So blind pick Alistar is the choice. Response here wouldn't be surprising to see the Rel. I think the matchup is less easy post rework because you used to be able to interrupt the snare with the E on demand on old Rel, but not entirely confident in that. So we'll just have to see how it unfolds in game.
Either way, either one of these matchups feels like it's, unless there's big positioning mistakes happening, going to be focused on the 2v2 and more about probably getting on the map, comboing with junglers, making plays happen. We'll see if they can do that here, and this is the part of the draft I'm most interested to see what Rest wants to take here. blind into Adam, who has his unique counter picks. The Aatrox being hovered.
Olaf angle, potentially?
You tell me, you've been watching this guy all year.
Not sure. I've actually been waiting. As much as people like the Gods acronym, I really like Adam's Aatrox. Yamato Cannon's been hyping up for a long time, and I would just like to see it once or twice, but let's just go through the... Okay, so there's Garen, there's Olaf, there's Darius and Set. Darius is banned. There it is! Okay, there's the S!
We got the S, baby!
The question is he going to be putting it into Gods, or is he going to be putting it into Dogs? He's going to have to find out.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We have seen mostly Gods out of Adam. I will say, even the games where he's done some silly things, it is mostly in already losing scenarios or the team not playing well around him. I think he has had a very good Worlds thus far for himself. And here on another one of his signature champions, going to be making the game about him, comboing with Sejuani, having the ability to stack up the Sejuani passive very quickly if you come for a gank with your Q reset on your auto attacks, getting both those little jabs in there quickly can get some really nice CC. You bring a ton yourself.
Yeah, set up with the ult, flanks with a showstopper. Set does a lot to also disrupt any potential engages coming from Gemini or Xiaoxi. Obviously won't do a lot to interrupt the Maokai ultimate, but I think in general Set is a champion that we've really only seen him a lot in pro play when he was, I think, objectively overpowered.
Yes.
But is a champion still who still has a lot of unique utility that still puts him in the range of bruisers like Darius or Garen, but maybe with a bit more team fight priority at the cost of some of that individual 1v1, I can just push Q on your AD carry and they die.
And a lot of the champions that Adam seems to be his best on are the ones where if you play the line correctly, it gets disgusting. Olaf, when he gets really low and he gets all those steroids stacked up, can make some crazy plays. Set kind of like that, where you have this massive Haymaker shield that can come through, convert that into a ton of damage if you time it right. Then you suddenly, if you're going the Gore Drinker build, can proc that to heal up a ton. There's some really disgusting things you can do, and especially if the enemy is not prepared for playing against Set, which honestly, like you said, he was only briefly popular. And even then, you start to see him more in support in other positions than even top lane.
Yeah, mid lane Set, I think, even probably had a more of an impact on pro play than top lane Set ever did, or support Set. As we gear up into this game, reminder, elimination match. Winner will play against PSG Town in a best-of-5. Winner of that will make it through to the Swiss stage. Swiss draw happening, I believe, at the end of the broadcast tomorrow, so we can see what all of those first-round matchups look like. That's a very exciting draw.
Yes.
No more groups of death, just a lot of scary teams and a high chance that you'll get drawn into one of them coming out of play-ins.
Yeah, Pool 1 will draw from Pool 4, Pool 2 will draw against Pool 3, and the only limitation being you cannot play against your own region. So quite a bit of opportunities for some spicy matchups early on if LNG somehow ends up against Genji or something. Who knows? Actually, they're not Pool 4, are they?
I'm going to be honest.
No, it would be KT who's Pool 4, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying
Weibo's
yeah
Pool
to
4
you
for
because I have not looked at the pools and was going to wait for
I can just get you to say yes to anything then. Don't tell me that, man. I'm just going to lie to you. Be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pool 4, the...
Yeah. You remember that part in Arcane where... Never mind.
EDG's at the tournament, by the way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
ADG pool, what? 6? Separate pool?
Yeah.
Car pool?
Kiddie pool.
To the airport?
That's where
Yeah, we'll
Golden Guardians is waiting for them.
Waiting for them. Gotta save money on taxes. It's gotta be efficient. Keep them there for an extra week. Anyway,
back to reality here early on. A very familiar matchup for anyone in the summer split. A lot of this is pretty similar stuff to what we've been seeing. A lot of the newer champions getting banned out are not focused down here this time around.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, a very good test case game for both these teams who are happy to play slow and trust their late game decision making and scaling and setups. And if you lose that, you are forced to adapt. And you can already see Adam making a little flippy in the top side.
Yep. And obviously Aatrox early lanes is a champion exclusively when he has his Q up and available, which is a very long early cooldown. Which I mean, getting a nice trade there. Nuke trying to extend it just to get the better side of it on the back end of the trade. Nice little punt back from Lebrov on the level 1. Xiaoxi and Shen doing what they can to establish a lane advantage here. Level 1 Alistar, obviously pretty underwhelming when it comes to lane contributions.
I love this. You can already see with the early wards that they drop with their traditional crazy BDS level 1s that they're very aggressive with. They tend to try and do things to set up plays. They know that right now, Sheo is camping this brush to see if Maokai crosses over into the top side of the jungle, trying to find him, and he's not doing it. So there's 2 potential dives. Looks like he's focused more on Jimmy right here, but Gemini's making it in the bot side.
Only level 1. Crowning just now going to get level 2. Cleansing out to safety, but he doesn't have a lot of feathers laid down. Maybe he can get the pullback. First blood coming in! Big fumble!
What an aggressive play out of CFO. Gets punished immediately. The teleport that was coming through. Looks like Adam was not able to finish showing up there. Got interrupted.
But it didn't matter.
No.
They still got the kill. He's happy to still be topside. They might turn that into a dive, although now he's eating tower shots to get more W damage.
Calculated.
5-head.
Absolutely not a mistake. Rest, nice E to get out of the true damage from the Haymaker there, playing that little mini game. And I assume that for the Aatrox, this matchup is going to be tough, but especially in the early phases before you start getting the lower Q cooldowns, exceptionally long ability early on.
Flash forward, Shattering Strike, Lebrov cutting back there. Still has the pull. His crowning starts to walk up here. Gemini very low. Crowning has to be careful. Lebrov, nice pulverize to interrupt the rel.
What is this?
This lane matchup's kind of funny. Whoever goes first just doesn't get to engage.
It's also very funny when a 200 HP Maokai is trying to walk through a Xayah.
Yeah.
That is questionable decision-making there, and I think BDS has done a good job reacting to the shenanigans thus far.
I mean, this is important, again, because you know, BDS came out swinging in Game 1 in the previous series, but need to see that same level of consistency. And not surprising to see potential nerves on the stage. Don't want to make any assumptions about players' emotional state, but this is a high-stakes game. It would be totally reasonable for there to be some, you know, some stress, some anxiety about the series.
Well, I also think there's a degree of game planning around this. Crowny died early on in the previous series. Yesterday, they were able to make plays against him, and I think they were maybe saying, CFO looking at that series, saying, hey, maybe if we do some tricky timings on ganks or dives happen, maybe we can get Crowny. The idea that they tried to get the kill before they hit level 2 on that bot play made some level of sense, but of course, it's very easy to hit level 2. They managed to do that. And then the repeat gank, because he's low, you're thinking, hey, maybe if they are not paying attention, this will work. But unfortunately, I think Lebrov has done a good job so far in the early lane phases of interrupting any attempts to jump on top of him.
It certainly has. You see Maokai on the top side of the map, Gemini just shadowing Rest in the event that Shio shows his face topside. Adam going to be forced to catch that massive wave. Rest having the luxury to back whenever he wants to. Again, early levels, very important for Aatrox just for Q cooldown, and Adam hasn't been able to spend any gold that he accrued. We take a look back at this. Talk about what went wrong here. Level 2 timing, insane from BDS.
Yeah, just the first minion, so there was a very, very tight window to try and get in there before that happened. I think the Q of Aatrox interrupted that Adam teleport, but like you said, didn't need it. Very early on, turrets do a lot of damage, and you are not that tanky, so CFO instantly get punished there. And nice for Crowny to be the one to pick up the kill on the tail end of that as well. So he's going to be quickly accelerated into his Noon Quiver and make last hitting a breeze.
Yeah, doubly important because you can see an early serrated dirt coming out from Kai'Sa, which means we very much expect the lethality build, usually Umbral Glaive into the Duskblade, which is very strong 1 to 2 item spike. Not going to offer as much scaling damage output, and certainly not any magic damage output, which could be a concern as we get later into the game. That said, early on, you ult in, you push Q, they can't do anything about it, they die.
Yeah, House of Red Smite for Gemini here. So they get a little bit of magic damage, you know, a little bit burn. Didn't go the first strike build, going instead for Phase Rush, which I think is technically the correct thing, but I am a big first strike enjoyer.
Well, he also went, you know, he went Cloth early on. So I'm like, as you said, early boost 2, are you going tank? I feel like if your AD is going to go lethality and your mid laner is also going to go lethality, this could have been a great Demonic Embrace game. We'll see where he wants to take it. Flash in, immediately going to go for the punt, immediately going to go for the knockback, the alley-oop, the quick flash out from Shun. Flash for flash traded at the end of the day, Lebrov's for Shun's.
Yeah, still a nice chunk out though, putting Shun in the back foot, having to burn through the single pot that he had, still not going to take him up to full, and also giving Prio now for BDS to start this Dragon, something they're absolutely huge fans of. Dragon stacking is their bread and butter for their early game plan.
Yeah. Go for these objectives, set up for these fights. Out-executed the vast majority of teams in the LEC when it came to fights in spring. That's how they got a lot of their wins. Built comps to fight, fought better. Made it work for themselves. There's a Hex Flash over the wall from Lebrov. Allows him to cancel. No, not quite. He's got no summoners left, so they're just going to walk past each other. Or no spells, rather.
Yeah, it was a clever idea, just couldn't get it done in time. And so far for Rest, I gotta say, doing okay in the top side despite some of these struggles in the early levels. Now hitting level 7, has his boots too to try and keep the distance from set. Play a little bit more of the tippers that you're trying to land on those.
Yeah. And you know, I'm not entirely confident in how this matchup goes in terms of the individual dynamics, even if we understand the champions pretty well. But obviously, the later you go as Aatrox, the more you're going to be able to ignore a lot of what Set wants to do. So much of that is going to be the Haymaker, which means it's hard for you to all in, because if you Q3 when he's got W up, it's going to feel very, very bad. But at the same time, what is Set going to do to you? So they're both just kind of staring each other down, pushing waves in, trying to play for as much tempo as they can.
Uh-oh.
Shall see. Caught out here. Going to be the lockup coming through. The stun going to connect coming in. Nuke is there as well. He's going to slide and he's going to glide. He's not quite going to get it done, but the Ignite is ticking. That means a quick kill over Sheo.
Does also mean that Shun is cut off on the bot side here as the rest of the team is going to just continue running down on the tail end of that play. Trapped under turret, no teleports available.
Shun, Cleanse coming out a little bit early here. Feathers fly, Feathers come right back. Trying to pick up another kill. Donated by jungle support in mid is Adam in the top wave. No counter punch yet on the Herald coming through. Gemini bot side, but a little bit late. Nothing really here for him. Jimmyin's going to try to get the wave in. It will only deny a couple creeps and potentially a plate to nuke, so still a massive play in favor of BDS.
Gotta say, this is basically the perfect dream start that you could have for BDS, where you counter out all of the punches out of CFO. Labrov is making moves on the map, being very proactive, comboing with Sheo. Nuke's moving around. They're very, very good right now. They have a 3-kill advantage here, and just heads up on knowing that Xiaoxi is going to try and roam mid here, camping him, getting him ready to go. The fact that you have the early escape there, and then during that time, you don't really see it on the mini-map only, is that Adam was messing with Jimmy, so they are doing very, very proactive plays early on out of BDS here.
Yeah. Again, clean dive, well executed, leveraging the tanky power that they have. Labrov's not even level 6 yet, and they're pulling these dives off, which is only going to get easier as we get later into the game and as Kai'Sa falls further and further behind. Across the board, you know, flashbacks to a stronger, earlier version of BDS. While people are really hyped on the Adam train right now, it's important to note that a lot of his games weren't flashy. A lot of what made Adam good was the amount of pressure he absorbed or his willingness to sacrifice himself. It wasn't being 6-0 on Darius or Wampa stomping his individual 1v1 matchup. Like, that is obviously something that he can do, and people like that part of him a lot. I get why. But this version of Adam that absorbs pressure, that disrupts enemy plans, that eats 3 bans in the ban phase and sets you up to pick what you want, is the version that we saw much more in LEC.
Take a second here as Gemini drops his ultimate, but does not angle that very well. The rest of the team is able to skirt right out of there.
All right, hold back is there. TP now coming in, or at least able to grab that TP. Adam going to lose a decent amount on the top side for showing up here, but stops the play in its tracks. Shield already starting the Herald, however, so trying to convert this into something.
Yeah, they saw a number of resources, so even though Adam ends up going down to the bot side of the map, Gemini is on the top, meaning that you still have roughly even numbers, and the rest of BDS is just going to continue getting escorted out of the bot river into mid lane to make this play happen.
Yep. Stun now coming in, just trying to zone him away, take the objective. Infernal Chains, dash, walk out. CFO are here, but it's way too late.
Yeah, looks like they're going to be able to get away free. Oh, flashing in.
Full commit here, push back on the shuffle, now trying to escape. Jimmyin able to grab that one. Good that they're able to get the kill back. Meanwhile, Adam grabbing plates on the bottom side in the mid lane. No action coming through quite yet, so CFO get a bit of a counterpunch, but BDS still wildly ahead in gold.
Yeah, a little bit of greed there by BDS to finish off that Rift Herald and try and escape that way, but at the end of the day, you're still very happy to grab the Rift Herald, and Adam is just alone this entire time, grabbing 2 turret plates for himself, clearing these minion waves out, up to a 2,000 gold advantage. Oof. And the rest of the team just being so proactive on the map and doing such a good job of flowing between plays, where you find a pick in the jungle that goes bot lane, you escape from bot lane to go mid to then try and escort this Rift Herald. Adam TP's down bot, he stays there.
Adaptive lane assignments, taking objectives, leveraging pressure across the board. This flexibility, fantastic to see, because again, yesterday, while they were ahead, it was slow, it was controlled, but it certainly wasn't this imposing in the early game, and this version of BDS is a sight for sore eyes.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see this for them. I also, while Adam does a lot of shenanigans, and it's really cool, like you were saying, and I often like when Sheo is not drawn too far into those shenanigans, where it becomes a bit of a black hole in the top lane, and all you can really do is try and cover Adam if it's not going well, or make dives happen and you ignore the rest of the map. I like when he is unlocked a little bit to make his own plays, because I do think he does combo decently with Labrov at certain points in time, and has tricky pathing and playmaking, and here he has been kind of unlocked while Adam is on largely weak side. There was that one dive they were considering up in the top side here. For the most part, it's been about what he wants to do on the map based off what he's seeing, and has accrued also a CS advantage for himself in the jungle.
Grabbing these plates, being left alone a lot with these towers as CFO are trying to overload or respond to a play a little bit behind tempo. And this is kind of the cost when BDS are in a position to punish, is that, you know, you can come contest this play, but you're late to the map or you don't have prio in your lanes. It means giving up something else somewhere else on the map. For CFO, quarterly profits not looking great. Shareholders concerned. Not a great time to be chief financial officer.
Solution?
Cut.
Layoffs.
Layoffs. Stop giving gold to Gemini. Give more to Shun.
That is what we'll have to see if they can do in this game, and if not, in draft. maybe be a little, I don't know where we're going with this.
I don't know where we're going either.
I was going to say less greedy with your picks, but honestly, they're not that greedy. It's just about BDS.
Yeah.
Having better, like you said, reads on the play and tempo to then go from this Dragon take now immediately into a Rift Herald take. This is going to drop bot lane turret, funnel more gold into Crowny, who's already got 2 kills, super far ahead. First turret broken. He's just going to be able to start roaming around the map now and continue to farm up and become massive. 20 CS advantage as well.
Trying to go for a bit of a play there on the bottom side. And Gemini so often shadowing these plays, not trying to make a counterpunch elsewhere on the map, means that CFO are just perpetually responding, perpetually playing catch-up. Rest with a small level advantage on the top side of the map. No Gore Drinker yet. That'll help the matchup a lot in terms of just lane sustain. Adam is going to get pulled back here. Nice timing, though, on the Haymaker as well as the pullback.
Yeah. Thus far, though, just surviving and, you know, with the turret plates that he's gotten for himself, actually up around 700 gold. So even though the farm looks equal and there's an assist for rest, Adam is ahead of the matchup currently, looking quite good for himself. And I gotta say, one of the other strengths of Adam is his ability to find unique angles in team fights, which is something that becomes paramount on set. When you find unique ways to dunk teammates into each other or to pull them into the rest of your team, following up with big the clapbacks, pulling everyone in for stuns. That is one of the things that really defines set in the mid to late game, as much as we're talking about the early game laning phase. And we'll have to see if he's able to do that.
No. MasterCard lane economy snapshot very clearly in favor of BDS.
That's going on Crowny's mom's fridge. That's a good snapshot right there.
She's gonna like that snapshot.
Yeah,
that's good.
Print that one out.
Print that one out. That's a great report.
That's an A+.
Thank you, MasterCard. I think the good news if you're CFO right now is while this has been difficult, Kai'Sa, ton of lethality, Q evolve, gonna be feeling good coming into the next fights. If you can find these isolated targets, if you can pick someone up. The grouped up fights are still tough. Jimin in mid lane is doing well. Some of his gold lead a little bit artificially inflated because of first strike, but still finding a small advantage here. Once he gets 2 items, he's going to start to hit. Not like a truck quite yet, as there are a lot of beefy frontliners, but definitely going to start hitting hard.
Yeah, I think it's a decent game for him. Has farmed well, has largely stayed mid on Jason and CS while all the plays were kind of happening around him. And I think this is the question now for CFO. We've talked a lot about from the BDS perspective. For CFO, you're not terribly concerned about getting super outscaled. I mean, obviously a 3K gold deficit is a problem, and the pace of play is not the problem, but it's the lack of options. I haven't really seen what their plan is, how they're going to approach this game. It's largely been, we tried this one bot dive, that got countered out, and since then we've done nothing. And I don't know what they want to do from here. When is, in their opinion, the time to contest? They are now all on their first item. Both teams are. And so with Herald up in 40 seconds, is this when you want to go? Is it third Dragon? We're not quite sure yet. We're going to have to see what they do.
Yeah. CFO are getting dragged around the map by BDS right now. They're just ready to respond. They're just hoping that BDS overextend right now, and it's putting them in a tricky position. And I think their composition, while the scaling is solid and there will be opportunities to fight back, one of the struggles of the Maokai as opposed to Sejuani, while Maokai provides, in many cases, just way, way more utility, his ult is a terrible engage option when you're behind. It is so much better when people have to fight into you, when you can get objective set up first, when you have any kind of lead and you can pair it with any other kind of engage. But Gemini already behind the plays in many situations, for now just trying to hold on to this blue buff. BDS take total control of the top side of the map, and why are they doing that, you might ask? Well, surprise, surprise, once again an objective has spawned, and that is their cue to group up.
But once again, I think BDS is in a slightly superior position. Adam is already shutting out bot side, already has the teleport available, so while CFO is technically more grouped, they're now just buying space, starting to set up for the Rift Herald. BDS is slowly conceding this, but making them work for it. This pulls Rest down to the bot side to catch that wave. Adam's already moving up. They're just doing such a good job of kind of moving around the map as a whole unit.
Classic turn-based League of Legends. You know, both sides fighting for mid-prio. Once their labs are pushed, moving into clear vision. The difference is Adam gets bot push first, and as a result is able to move up first. If they want to contest this, it'll cost the Aatrox TP, but CFO aren't even going to risk that. Nope. They'll just concede second Herald, which means mid lane is very likely going to die soon, which is where the game starts to get hard. It's going to be hard to play the game slower once mid lane is down, once that space is opened up on the map.
I have an awful pun I'm trying to workshop in my head right now about a concession stand, but like giving things away. But then I realized you pay for things at a concession stand.
You do. It's kind of weird. English is weird.
Yeah, I don't think it makes... I thought for a second my brain wasn't working. I'm like, I don't think this language makes sense.
No, yeah. English isn't terrible.
I'm like, they're recalling, they're going to the concession stand to give them, but then
They're
BDS isn't paying.
conceding a lot of things.
And
is the
BDS is
sentiment.
not paying.
Imagine he said something really clever that involved some play on the word.
It's Mad
conceding.
Libs casting. You at home fill in the blanks of the clever thing I said.
Write your own hype call. I'll just be silent during the next fight.
Find your favorite hype call and just play it over the rest of this game.
BDS are adjectiving towards Dragon.
They're setting up the noun.
I feel like we're also dating ourselves because like there's going to be some generation of people who have not ever experienced a Mad Lib and have no idea what we're talking about right now.
No.
All right, there's the Maokai ult. It's slow, it's steady. It has engaged the fight, but they don't want to follow up because BDS did not step into it. And this is the tricky part of this game. And it goes Shio, fishing, trying to find the jungler. Immediately they're just going to burn down the Maokai. Bam! Down goes one. BDS now looking to follow up. CFO, can they look to turn this? Ulti already down, rest in the midst of the team. Unstoppable now, Adam throwing it back into the rest of the team. The leap in from Jousy. Shun on the backside, just now getting in. He's at least gonna be able to take out Labrov. That is one. CFO firing back. But they just don't have enough in the tank. They lose their jungler before the fight even starts. So they can only get one in return. Support, traded for support. Jungler, mid lane, Dragon, and now tier 1 tower. It is a terrible trade deal.
Now BDS come out way ahead this time around. Nice play out of them after seeing the Maokai ultimate timeout. It was as the Baron was dropping, it was already too late to try and use the Maokai ultimate as a means to charge forward. That is one of the offensive use cases. It kind of buys you this space if you drop it and run forward. The Dragon's gone. Once that time's out, Shale finds his angle to land this ultimate. Here you'll see it down, just this pullback kind of burst damage from Crowny having so many feathers on the ground combined with the smite and everything. There's no time for CFO to contest. And then they feel bad for grouping up and giving away third dragon, so they're not quite sure if they want to fight this, use, kind of hover in the river for Prio to get the push mid, but that means that Shun's not here. Huge play out of Shio to instantly blow him up. Jimmy and also panic flashing away, not sure if that was going to hit him or not. And this gives the rest of BDS the chance to charge forward. I appreciate Shousey going in here and trying to save Rest's life. It also does set up Shun for finding that kill, but I am not sure what Jimmy and saw there. Trying to find that kill.
Fast recall timer.
Get back to base faster, true.
Flash out from Gemini. Adam finds the pullback here. Not that we have struggled to find reasons to praise BDS this game, but again, credit to them. The second Shun walked into mid lane, they pulled the trigger on the engage. The second the Kai'Sa walked away for even a moment, that was the time they chose to go forward, and that is the kind of stuff that can define team fights. Spotting that moment of weakness where the AD carry is trying to push out mid. Labrov, though, could be in trouble here. He's hit one more to secure the pullback. He does! Q2, Q1, and Q3 all connecting. Labrov making it out of the wall. Crowny could now be in trouble. Shun has used the ultimate already. Retreat coming through. TP coming in from Adam. Double TP. Adam looking for the setup. Ulti available. They have to be careful about grouping up too much here. Poke's already coming in. Keeping this play going, not a bad idea. Flash out from Shio, CFO. How much more can they get out of this?
Oh, this is one of those frustrating plays where you've done so much work so correctly, but do not get any gold for it. You've got a ton of summoners out. That's double teleport and multiple flashes burn, as well as the ultimate out of Labrov. So well played by CFO, but doesn't actually get them anything to really help get back in the game. And most of this is a pressure relief, unless you can really use your teleport advantage now to find a setup to then actually convert into gold. Really liked the attempt there. Rest in particular letting multiple big chains and Qs to set up the rest of the team, but just not able to lock anyone down long enough for the kill.
I'm thankful every day that they didn't name all three Aatrox Qs something different.
I don't even know the name of the actual ability. It's Darkened Blade Smash.
Yeah, that's right. Do you know Felios has unique ability names for every single one?
Yes, I do know that. You know how many of them I know?
None of them.
Correct.
As you should. It's too much.
The Darkened Blade is Q. You know what?
You should have stuck with the
sarcastically very close.
Yeah, no.
I threw Smash on the end as a joke because I was like, there's no way, it's just Darkened Blade. And you know what?
It's the Darkened Blade.
Shame on me.
You need a name that encompasses all of the different actions he does with the blade. He sweeps, he flips, he pokes, prods. It's a very all-encompassing skill.
I just call it Marth techniques. F smash,
tipper,
down tilt.
Actually, I haven't appreciated enough how we've been calling it the tipper is actually.
It's strictly a Marth term in my head.
Yeah, it is strictly a Marth term, but it's also sick. Any Smash League overlap we can get is dope. As long as it's not Minecraft Steve, I'm happy.
I'll look for more crossovers. I don't know how successful I'll be.
Yeah. Shio, walking up. Nothing gonna happen. Just a bunch of beefy bros hanging out, hitting each other once or twice and walking away.
Bunch of beefcakes hanging out in a river.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
It's a fight club. Yeah, for sure. Just ripped, just turbo-jacked.
That's me, man.
That's me.
For sure. Did not spend 36 hours straight in a bed.
Yep, playing Baldur's Gate.
Couldn't be me.
Nope. We've touched grass. Adam now touching Rest. Rest needs to back up. Again, prodding with the Q here. CFO getting a lot of work done. Stop laughing, Mark. I have to guess. LeBron going to be forced to ult early once again. A little bit caught out of position here. Rest ulting potentially prematurely. 2 seconds till the objective spawns. LeBron getting pulled back now. Having ult for the fight is big. This is a decent angle for CFO.
A lot of poke landed. This is exactly what we're talking about when you're able to get the position with this composition.
Fantastic setup. Shun getting the ult out early. Crowny forced to flash into safety. Easy Drake pickup. This is the patience. This is the discipline we wanted to see from CFO. Finding their angles. In goes Shousey, but no one's there with the shot blast. He finds the angle. Jimmy and taking out the carry. The Dragon was already guaranteed, but getting the shutdown on Crowny as well is massive for CFO. BDS, do they have a response?
I thought Shousey lost his mind when he went in there. Shun had already ulted. I was wondering where the follow-up was coming, and it was from downtown. Jimmy and landing that snipe, finding that kill, stopping. Sole point from BDS. If there was one fight they needed to win this game so far, this was it. And when it mattered most, CFO has done it. And this makes a little string of plays now where CFO has come out ahead. There was that fight where they forced all those summoners earlier. This time around, getting in here, forcing out Labrov early, one of the main frontline members, getting Crowny's flash and ultimate out there, because otherwise you would have been hit by the Maokai ultimate that was coming in. And then here, on the same page with the rest of the team, that coordination you love to see with a composition like this, setting up the Jace for the free shock blast, landing that one was huge.
Yeah, massive gold injection on now only a 2K difference between the teams. Still have to be careful, have to be disciplined here. Labrov caught out in that exchange, caught out twice now over the last few exchanges. Rest involved in both, really has his number.
I think Rest is like low-key kind of winning them the game with this Aatrox play.
I mean, the Infernal Chains have been good. He's been connecting the Qs necessary to hit confirm that ability, and yeah, it's solid.
Yes, again here, Labrov forced low, tries to go in, Rest interrupts the headbutt pulse combo, forces the ult out, and once again, BDS are having to back off these kind of grouped up situations where the poke composition's coming out way ahead.
And when we talk about this composition, we did expect maybe more of an AP Kai'Sa, but the strength of Jace and Kai'Sa poke is there. It is real. We'll be a little bit strong once the Nashers come through, just so there's some AP there available for the Kai'Sa, but CFO, if they can keep it slow, if they can play it slow, find these little picks, find these little opportunities, take BDS to half health before a fight starts, they can certainly take a lot of these exchanges. But BDS have not spotted this vision. Have opted to just full try to commit to this play and this objective.
Some nice poke again from Jimmy and landing, already putting Crowny at half health and just breaking this play up with a single shock blast. BDS forced back, like you said, trying to catch them on recall timers. I don't hate the idea, but the vision clear, not quite there. One more in the pit that was not spotted out. And now this once again gives CFO the inside track.
Nuke, pushback coming through. Nuke still caught on the edge of it. Flat forward coming from Gemini. Gemini in no man's land right now, but instantly the rest of the team collapses. Shun coming in. Jimmy and gonna grab the kill. Rest in the midst of everybody. They need to burn through the Aatrox before he can heal. The stun now coming in. The follow-up is there. Rest not gonna make it over the wall with the flash. Gets pulled back, turns it into the fail flash. BDS coming out on top. 2-for-1 trade. Jungle top traded for the mid laner of BDS.
Looking like they want to force on the Baron now, given that there's no smite contest. It's still going to be a tough take to make, but maybe they can force them in and get some more kills out of CFO here.
Battering strike just stunning. Low health bars, but again, Crowny 2.5 items. Shreds this objective, just needs a bit more time. Sejuani as well, just consistently proccing that E. Jimmy and waiting over the wall.
Low mana too.
Crowny getting lower. Shun does a lot of damage, doesn't have a lot of mana. Adam instantly gonna go for the Haymaker, just trying to buy space for the rest of the team just to secure the Baron, and it pays off. The entire team distracted for a brief moment, and that's all they need to drop the Executioner's axe. It's a double for the Jace, most certainly, but the Baron in favor of BDS.
I love seeing this aggressive play out of BDS. This was one of the biggest complaints in their loss against Team Wales. Once their game plan had been disrupted in that first series, they backed off, they started to concede everything, and they seemed to have no reaction. But here, even though CFO started this fight very well, I actually even like kind of the 1-for-1 trade where Gemini is going to drop killing Nuke here. Maybe you can fall back and grab mid lane turret. Rest just feels himself a little bit too much, feeling like he can make this play. And the pullback, getting the panic flash, because he was against the wall, Adam repositioning him so he does not end up getting out there, gives them the space to just go ahead and force this Baron. Even though Crowny is getting poked, the team's not panicking, they're laser focused. Adam is just buying space, making sure that Crowny is free to hit the Baron until they finish that one off there. And now Crowny can refocus down the members of CFO.
Well played overall. And credit to Jimmy for they're able to grab the double on the back of that, but that is BDS willingly giving Adam's life, willingly throwing Labrov in there just to stop any potential of their carries going down or of the Baron getting stolen. The Baron getting stolen. Ooh, English today. Struggle.
We're getting there. It's only been 30-something years of it.
Yeah. Oof. We're getting older. This Baron buff also running out. Red Bull Baron power play not looking too juicy quite yet, as there were a lot of kills traded around that objective.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where half your team ends up dying to secure it. It's not the cleanest Baron, but I think ultimately still the right call to force that down. You get the influx of gold, you get the objective off the map. Now you have map pressure, given that the Dragon is spawning in 40 seconds. That will still be up during the time period that you have the Baron buff. So you get to corral CFO into their side of the map, start getting vision control down, and then fall back onto the Dragon to try and take this one away.
And Mountain Soul
Is good.
against a team that is mostly lethality or AD champions. It's very good, I would go so far as to say. It's not quite Ocean against Poke champions, but it is damn good. And CFO's life is only going to get harder here. They've done pretty well in the last few minutes to find these windows opportunities that they were pretty reticent to take earlier in the game, but it just might not be enough in the face of a Mountain Soul.
No, I mean, especially with how many members can stack some form of resist. You already have your top side of the map, Labrov as well. Is, you know, mostly building supportive items, but there'll be some resist tacked onto those as well. And here we go. Soul is up and available for BDS.
CFO waiting over the wall. BDS again can take their time a bit with this one, but they don't really have wave cryo anywhere, so this isn't quite as commanding of a setup as they would like. This will just be a full-on 5v5, so you try to take it, Jimmy. Oh, good poke.
He is holding that ability for Eyes on Crowny. There was a stun onto one of the frontline members. I think it was Sheo off of Xiaoxi's Q that I thought maybe he was going to hit, but he just waited. He's holding these until he sees Crowny somewhere and can begin to poke him out. He knows DPS is not the goal here. It's the importance of the damage landing on backline members mostly.
Yeah, and that's why Crowny's going to back off and just focus on burning down the Gromp, get a bit more lifesteal. Going in on the engage, just trying to force Adam right into the back line, looking for the pullback, looking for the haymaker. Massive damage on Shun, has zoned him out completely from the fight. The Mountain Soul comes through. Jimmy in on the back line. What can he get done? Shock Blast comes down, feathers have flown, they're going in onto Crowny. Crowny gonna try to pull the feathers back, but he just gets one shot. Shun is still standing, Jimmy is still standing. Can the carries of CFO make it happen? Nuke is cut down. CFO find a way to take the fight. Labrov taken out. Gemini on the back of Shio. Shio, the only one to get away. The Soul in favor of BDS, but the fight for CFO.
It started a little slow, but this game is turning into a banger. Adam gives his life up to buy space to grab the Soul, but Jimmy was untouched on the backside. They're able to wipe that fight and now grab a ton of objective bounties that have spawned and slingshot themselves actually ahead in gold. So one team has the the Mountain Soul here. Gonna take another look at it as you see them understand the objective here. Grab, dunk, focus Adam down, make them all worried about him so we can grab this objective. But during this time period, they are just melting him down. Now it's a 4v5, and the question is, how do we get out of here? Crowny a little bit panicked with that ultimate a little bit early. That Q was not gonna land from Jimmy in, and that allows Gemini to find his target, finish him down. They've done such a good job of finding the backline members first. Nuke was the next to fall, and then they just continue chasing through from there.
Yeah. And you can see there, the Acathian Reigns, the Kaisa Q empowered, doing a ton of work. Able to catch out Nuke there on the side of the fight. Kaisa 1 auto, 4.2k damage. We talk about this build falling off compared to other versions of Kaisa, and it's certainly true when it comes to shredding tanks. But for Nuke, who has no armor at this stage of the game, outside of what little bonuses are provided, you know, by the shield of the Mountain Soul, you know, it's going to struggle, as is Crowny in some of these fights. Whew. Win probability, of course, powered by AWS here. It's had similar ups and downs to us casting this series, I think it's safe to say. Is it entirely BDS winning the game? Is it CFO coming back? At this point in the game, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's all execution. As strong as the Mountain Soul is, CFO have fought tooth and nail to bring themselves back into this game.
Yeah, this is such a hard game to predict because if CFO can land their poke, they're starting these fights at half health. You talked about the burst potential from this lethality Kaisa. She finds a good target, gets on top of them. You know, are they assassins or are they poke? They're kind of both right now, and that's what makes it hard to say exactly how this is going to go. I think CFO has done largely pretty good in the team fights recently, which makes me a little scared for BDS, but the scaling is so good for BDS. And now with the shield, you think as long as they are able to find clean engages, they should be in the position to win this one.
It's true. And again, when you have wave pride, when you push in these waves, when you could back off and head straight to the objective, the poke isn't quite as scary. Certainly, if CFO are able to get priority, their poke is going to make sieging so easy. So BDS have to be careful about risking anything around the Baron. Using this opportunity to send Crowny top, presumably to maybe just get a bit more gold, or maybe he's just trying to spot the flank.
I think it was maybe grabbing the red buff as well that just might have got taken. Either way, they're leaving Adam in the top side to mostly do the pushing, grouping as 4 mid, and I feel like we're going to have a lot of poke battles going on here. Adam with a flank.
CFO has to be careful. Walking into this pinch is always a bit of a difficult proposition. Rest now going to be forced to escape. Gemini using the ult to disengage. CFO, will they take this opportunity to go back in? Good play by BDS. Seeing a potential weakness, stepping forward, getting some cooldowns out of CFO. Not overcommitting to the play, not stepping too far into that choke point.
I think you're seeing the power of the Mountain Soul starting to show up here. Sheo has taken shot blast after shot blast and just now hits 50% HP. And so the pressure for CFO to find the squishier members is becoming more and more important.
Yeah. I think it is important to note, though, you highlighted it earlier, Jace and Kaisa both, if ever left alone. We get used to looking at Jace as a poke champion in pro play, and I think that's certainly the easiest version of him. But if he finds a flank or an isolated carry, he one-taps Nuke or Crowny pretty effortlessly. That said, BDS just one-tapped the Baron, and CFO were not in a position to respond. Is this their time? Will they step forward now? BDS just need to back away, and this is what's tricky for CFO. So often it just feels like it's been too little too late when it comes to these engages. The poke continuing to land, but the shock blast doesn't connect, and I think the play has already fizzled. Sheo stepping forward just to make sure they body block, and now BDS want to turn, knowing that the entire team is split. Massive healing comes in for the Aatrox, but it's just not enough. Crowny finding the kill on the CFO top.
Yeah, they gave up on the chase, and that is exactly when BDS turns that one around, finds the free kill on Rest, who was stepping too far forward. Shun had already backed off more towards the mid lane, and BDS showing a nice level of control this game. First off, like you said, in terms of getting the Baron basically for free after trading a number of ults. And then here, the rest of the team, you can see, had already given up on the play. Jimmy lands a ton of damage onto Crowny, but no one else is really around. If you had the ability to maybe jump on top of him, you could start trading out here, but the rest of the play had given up, or the rest of the team had given up on the play, excuse me.
Yeah, and there's two things happening here in these fights that's cool to observe and also frustrating, I think, if you're a CFO fan. One is, you know, CFO not feeling full confidence to just pull the trigger on these small windows of opportunities. But also BDS, credit to them, after their loss, feel like they are playing so much more disciplined. They just back off. If there's not a reason for them to fight or they don't have an excellent angle, they just walk away. And CFO, once that Maokai ult's gone, Xiaoxi just has to give his life to force a play, and that's not a risk CFO are willing to take.
I think there's a lot of learnings from this game, not to get too far ahead of it, because of course, while BDS is in a controlling position, we have seen CFO win some surprising fights already, but I think they are being punished a little bit for their lack of activity in the earlier portions of the game.
Sheo now stepping in, Shun untouched on the backside for now, trying to auto-attack, but he can only hit the front line. Crowny has to be careful about the thorns. He's going to get locked up. CFO now the ones to retreat, the ones to pull back, continuing to try to leverage their poke here. Rest stepping forward onto Adam. 2 Qs connecting, confirming the third. Shun just executing him there. Solid advantage for CFO. They need to keep this going in their favor. Elder is up and available. BDS, do they feel confident enough to take it? Poke now coming in. Kaisa W won't connect. That's big. Cooldown very long at this stage.
No Adam for 40 seconds. Doesn't have TP on Rez either. Xiaoxi will be up in 10. We'll see if BDS want to force this one down. A little risky, but they're going for it.
Focusing on burning it down. LeBron just throwing down the Ignite early. Immediately going to go in, finding 3 on the pole. Rest on the backside. Elder in favor of BDS. This is absolutely their fight. CFO need to pull a rabbit out of the hat. They need a miracle. But again, hesitation plaguing this team across the entire game.
And on the flip side, BDS committing to the aggressive mentality now here in losers bracket. Lebrov giving up his life there, getting the 3-man pulverized to buy space for Shale to get that free smite. Gemini did get over the wall, but could not actually get it here. You know, like you were saying about Xiaoxi being the first one in, here's the danger of it. He gets melted if his engage has not actually landed on the damage dealers of BDS. Yeah. He gets exploded, but you see the danger of chasing a CFO team composition where anyone who gets caught out of position can kind of get exploded. Adam here is just vaguely split from the rest of the team, and Shun and him just melt Adam completely down. And then this is the aggressiveness, though. Despite it being a 4v4, despite how risky this can be, Lebrov trying to stop Gemini from getting in. He still gets into the pit, but this is such an improvement in the mentality of BDS than we had seen just a couple days ago, where they took everything so slow. Here, they are looking to actively win the game.
Yep. Full committing to the play. Even if, you know, timing might not have been perfect, Gemini still found an angle in. They still secure the smite. At the end of the day, that's what's important. Sheo just dances on the tower. Hitting him with the question mark. He's got Warmogs now. Their damage does not matter. Their poke does not matter. And this is the nightmare of every poke composition, is a beefy tank with Warmogs who just gets to laugh in your face and emote. Adam isolated, so potentially an opportunity here, just getting the early flash out from him. But again, Shio just continues to tank the tower. He's having a good old time. BDS stepping forward. They have the Elder, they have the Soul. Fight is very heavily in their favor. CFO, again, will need to look for a miracle at this stage of the game. 44 seconds left till Elder falls away. That might be a window of opportunity to force the fight, but Gemini ulting with no backup whatsoever, just maybe hoping to delay the push a bit longer. 30 seconds left on Elder.
Yeah, even this damage poked onto Crowny is not sticking any longer. The lifesteal keeping him easily topped up.
Focusing the objective, focusing the tower. The pull-in from Shao Z is big. Instantly one member isolated. Should manage to find the angle on the backside. That's the GA burn. Crowny's gonna get absolutely one-tapped by this Jace. Easy pickings. CFO, in the blink of an eye, they see their opportunity. They pull the trigger. Hesitation gone. When it is do or die, they have found a way. They have showed up. It is Nuke versus the world. Nuke manages to get one. Elder Dragon.
Oh,
not
the burn!
enough. Should. Oh! As the buff fades away, the tower will still do its work. Jimmy in on the top side. Can they make this happen? Have they stolen a victory from the jaws of defeat? We will have to see. Do they have the time? I think they do.
I don't know if they do. They have 30 seconds. Jimmy melts turrets with the empowered W. If Rest or Shun had stayed alive, I think this was game, but Nuke might have saved it. There's 10 seconds on LeBruv, who will absolutely have to run in, try and delay this from being any worse. We'll see if they back off after the inhibitor. There's no way they can do this.
What the hell did we just watch? That's the power of this composition, that single moment. Crowny mispositioned for a second. Watch this frickin' Kaisa damage.
He was feeling what I was feeling. I'm safe, I'm good, but with the plasma stacks on him, that is when they find the angle, instantly popped with the penetration build, and his spawn is just being camped. They instantly blow him up. Gemini with a nice timed Q to make sure he couldn't do anything. And then here, the savior, Nuke, Rest, chasing forward, wanting to get this reset here, this flash out, getting some damage down to finish him off, and then the turret getting Shun. If either one of those two guys lived, I think they meet up with Jimmy in the bot side of the map, and they probably try and end the game.
Game of inches now. Credit to CFO. Again, I think they're going to look back to this game and know that they could have done so many things better, but it's a tall task. Can they bring it back? Another Baron for BDS, essentially secured. Not really an angle here, but will be an angle to force the fight. Jimmy continuing to poke on the backside. The Brav already ulting. Shio isolating one, but not a priority target. Shun just hoping to find an angle onto these carries. The Brav steps up again, but it might cost him his life. The ulti's going to fade away. Can they punish? Flashing out to safety. BDS got what they came for, though. The Baron, they can just back away.
The nice thing about BDS is they've done so much work through the early portions of the game. They're reaping the rewards here, able to get there early. They have so much map pressure from these inhibitors being down. They have so much extra stats available from the dragons that they've taken. And despite how close LeBron got, the fact that he lost his flash there, they no longer really need a Flash Alistair combo to set up and win the game. Hopefully they can just go down bot lane now with these super creeps and the Baron buff on, sit on this, get the third inhibitor, and then force CFO to once again try and find a miracle play onto the back line.
And this, again, I've said it too many times this game about the victory lap. BDS are heavily favored. In theory, all you need to do is break open that inhibitor.
Oh, they've won the game, Dracos. Don't worry. I'm not caster cursing them.
No,
this is all
just,
but the singing is done.
I know. When the Chonky lady sings, we'll get there. But I'm nervous for BDS. CFO, can they find the angle? Can they bring it back? It would be one of the most miraculous turnarounds we've seen in play-ins. Require near flawless execution. Another opportunity for redemption if they can try and turn and take this game. But for now, BDS barreling into their base. Ulti going wide from Shio.
Nuke is hurting so much, able to force Rest back just with a couple autos and Qs from his Sand Soldiers. Rest goes back to the fountain, heals back up. That buys the space for the third inhibitor to drop. BDS now, nothing really else to fall back for. You could go for the Elder Dragon, but that's just going to give space for them to clear these minions out. I like the idea of just syncing your waves, getting 3 Baron buffed up, super creep waves pushed in at the same time.
BDS walking forward. Need to keep it together. If they stay disciplined, this should just be their win, but they're trying to find an opportunity. Nuke locked up for a brief moment, but there's no immediate fall. Jimmy trying to look for the angle. Shao Z in, but it's too little. It is too late. The carries of BDS remain standing. Jimmy will not be enough. The blade coming through, but at the end of the day, it is Crowny tearing through the entire team. Rest running for the hills, and BDS taking a commanding win in game 1, despite some hiccups on the journey.
CFO made them work for it, but BDS was able to close this one out off of superior objective play, securing all the Barons, almost all the Dragons, not losing that smite. Shale coming up clutch there to get that Elder Dragon. And despite one little misstep in the base by Crowny, giving a momentary opportunity for life there, for the most part, BDS did control the majority of that game.
Yeah. And credit to CFO for finding a couple of the opportunities that they did, but I think now that they didn't win the game, you have to kind of bring in the magnifying lens and talk about why did so many of those windows of opportunity that people might have seen go wrong? Was it something that BDS did well to deny it to you? Was it something in your comp that was lacking? Or was it individual players? Was it the confidence wasn't there to pull the trigger, to jump in on these small windows of opportunity? Because you saw the single fight in mid lane. When it went well, it went really well. But that was about the only fight that they found in that game that was convincing.
Yeah. I mean, this was a really hard